33 years ago, the idea of what the future of shoes would look like was self-lacing sneakers. Given that 33 years have passed, surely there's a lot more futuristic stuff on the market. Got me thinking, what is the actual future of sneakers now? So I decided to go out there and buy the most futuristic sneakers I could possibly find, starting with this pair of Nike sneakers that you can use with no hands. This is the Nike Go Fly Ease, and it's actually Nike's first ever no-hand sneaker. And this is the greatest example of simple but effective design. Now, this isn't just some gimmick, it's actually for the first time ever allowed some people with disabilities to put their own shoes on without having the need for someone else to tie up their laces. I mean, if I asked you right now, what is the future of sneakers, you may think of something super tech forward and flashy. Sometimes simple engineering can really make the biggest leaps forward. It's actually a pretty regular, sleek looking pair of sneakers, and if you didn't know any better, this would just look like a regular pair of shoes. However, like I said, the very small and subtle engineering behind this pair of sneakers makes it incredibly useful. Simple hinge design allows you to put on and take off the sneakers without bending over or using your hands at all. The inspiration for the design and eventually the production of this pair of sneakers was actually Matthew Walzer. Matthew was a 16-year-old with cerebral palsy. He contacted Nike telling them that it was his dream to be able to go to college without someone tying his shoelaces for him day in and day out. And Nike's solution to this happens to be an affordable option which is super comfortable and just genius engineering. Pretty futuristic. Next up, we've got not just a wildly futuristic design, but it's also made with a very future-thinking technology. And it comes in a bag. This is a pair of clogs from RAL 7000 Studio in collaboration with Bershka. I mean, one look at RAL 7000 Studio's Instagram page and you can immediately feel like you're transported into the future of footwear. I've actually collaborated with Adidas in the past. However, this time it's with the fashion brand Bershka, and they came up with this incredibly futuristic looking pair of clogs. And this clog is made using XL Extra Light technology. It's an injection molding technology which ensures 3 times more lightness than every other material with the same physical and mechanical properties. It's also composed of 51% pre-consumer industrial waste, and that makes every single pair of these things unique because of the uneven distribution of recycled material all over the sneaker. And I gotta say, this material feels super soft and incredibly comfortable on foot, so not just thinking of the future in terms of design, but also the planet. I like it. In the sneaker world, a lot of the most popular shoes are all retro designs, and it's been like that for a very long time. So what brands are out there really pushing the envelope in terms of designing super futuristic sneakers? Well, it's a brand called Ning, and this is the Ning Yeonyu. Seeing this pair of sneakers, I knew I had to get it. This looked incredibly futuristic. You can also see a common trend here with all of these futuristic designs. Seems like everybody from the future has a problem with laces. Now, as crazy as this pair of sneakers look, it's actually one of the most comfortable pairs of shoes I've ever put on my foot. They're surprisingly light, and when you put them on, it literally feels like you've got a sleeping bag wrapped around your foot. Even the sock liner is made from this incredibly fluffy, comfortable material. Almost like the designers at Ning got around a table and thought, how can we make the most comfortable pair of shoes on the planet? We'll just put you in a sleeping bag. Next up is a pair of sneakers that you should all be familiar with by now. It's the Yeezy Foam Runner. Now, apart from its crazy futuristic looking design, it also has a ton of manufacturing bonuses to it as well. Like the fact that these are made in part with algae. Partly using algae in the Yeezy Foam Runner allowed them to use less toxic fossil fuels and more sustainable methods of producing them. It also only takes them 25 minutes to make this shoe. They were made in the USA, bringing more local jobs, which is actually something pretty rare for the sneaker industry. And on top of all of that, these are the most affordable Yeezys ever made. All in all, these are one of the most futuristic sneakers you can buy. Now, Crocs, Foam Runners, the Fear of God slip-on, they're all great until you need something a little bit more practical. Well, thankfully, we've got the answer. This is the 1017 Alex 9SM Mono Boot. And yes, these things are absolutely crazy. Even though I can't technically say that this is the first ever foam boot, it's kind of in its own category as the first of whatever you would call this. Like obviously, we've seen Wellington boots and stuff that you would use on a farm. However, a fashionable boot made completely out of foam is definitely something that's in its own category. It really reminds me of what Yeezy was planning to produce with the Yeezy foam boot, or whatever they were going to call that. These just actually got made. Obviously, the design of these looks incredibly wild and straight from the future, but the practicality of an all-over foam boot is actually pretty good. And this is obviously a whole lot easier to produce when you compare it to a regular boot that's made of leather materials. I can also see the utility of having an all-over waterproof boot. I feel like they could have used slightly softer foam material to make it a little bit more comfortable, but it's definitely not as uncomfortable as I thought they were going to be, which in my opinion makes them a pretty cool experience trying these things out. And that brings me to one of the most futuristic looking sneakers sneakers I've ever seen in my life. It's called the Balmain Unicorn, and it looks straight out of an art museum. The details on this thing is absolutely incredible. I cannot understate how crazy this pair of shoes looks in hand. It's one thing seeing it online and even seeing it in video, but when you have these things in hand, they are mind-blowingly crazy. Now, a lot of the other sneakers that we just took a look at seem relatively easy to produce. The foam runners only take 25 minutes. A lot of them are just foam shoes. However, these on the other hand are the exact opposite. There is a wide variety of different materials being used on the upper of this sneaker, and just the sole in these is crafted from 8 sectional molds that come together to encase the brand's shock absorber cushioning system. The general shape of these things kind of makes you feel like you're being propelled forward with each step. These will set you back a hefty $1,100, which definitely puts them firmly in the realm of high fashion, expensive sneakers. Okay, so at the beginning of this video, I told you about the movie Back to the Future and how they depicted the future of sneakers being self-lacing. Well, it's actually kind of true. This is the Nike Adapt BB 2.0. You see, ever since Nike and Back to the Future captured audiences with this idea of the future being self-lacing, Nike has been busy at work trying to streamline the idea of actually making a self-lacing pair of shoes. Now, before these released, Nike actually produced the actual pair of shoes from the Back to the Future movie, the Nike Air Mag. Now, it was in extremely limited quantities and it's literally selling for like $30,000 to $50,000 right now. But they took that concept and applied it to a pair of shoes that they could actually sell to the mass market. They ended up making a basketball sneaker, which this is the second version of. And they are absolutely from the future. As soon as you put your foot inside this pair of sneakers, it immediately adjusts the laces to fit for your foot. You can also use the plus and minus buttons to tighten or loosen the laces as you're wearing them. Yes, that's the laces getting tighter in this pair of shoes. You can actually adjust these laces using an app. You can adjust the left foot or the right foot depending on whatever you feel is the most comfortable. You can also use the app to change the colors of the lights on the buttons. And to charge these things, they come with a wireless charging mat, which you literally just put your shoes on and they charge up. But this self-lacing tech wasn't just exclusive to basketball sneakers, they also chucked it in some lifestyle versions, like the Jordan 11, the Nike Air Mags, and the Huarache. Now, even though these are probably the most futuristic sneakers that you can buy right now, they don't come without their setbacks. Fit all of that self-lacing tech, a battery, the buttons, and all of the electronics that go into this sneaker, it definitely adds the weight to this pair of shoes, which if you're a basketball player is anything but ideal. And obviously to make this sneaker cost effective, it ends up being one of the most expensive basketball sneakers that you can buy. With all that being said, these are still super cool. So it's kind of like 33 years ago, Back to the Future kind of got it right. Now to check out the best the future has to offer for next year, that video is right here.